Are you thinking about moving to Missoula, Montana? Here are my top 5 tips for driving in and around the city. The points I'll be sharing today surprised me when I first moved here. Don't learn the hard way. I'm here to save you from the headache. And if you stick around until the end, I'll share a bonus tip that you won't want to miss. Whether you're a first-time viewer or a long-time subscriber, I'm Diana Filkins from Living in Missoula, Montana. We receive countless calls, texts, and emails from people just like you seeking assistance with their move to this amazing city and its surrounding areas. We're here to help you make a smooth transition, whether you're moving in a few days or a few months. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. All our contact information is provided in the description box below. Get ready to discover my top 5 tips for driving in and around Missoula, Montana. Let's dive right in. All right, tip number 1. I learned quickly when driving around that there are roundabouts everywhere. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., and there are very few roundabouts there. And if there are roundabouts, they're in very major intersections, like DuPont Circle, for example. But here in Missoula, Montana, it's almost every other street has a roundabout. And at first I was like, oh, this sucks. This is such a waste of my time. People don't know how to drive in and out of roundabouts. But I've just come to accept it because they are literally everywhere. So I've just come to accept it and just do my best. I know for certain that I know how to enter a roundabout. I know how to exit a roundabout. I let people know when I'm entering or exiting. So I'm confident in my driving skills, and I just do the best that I can to work around the other people that may not know how roundabouts work, who has the right of way, who doesn't have the right of way. So I just do my best to work around other people because, especially growing up in Washington, D.C., I have my fair share of driving with people that don't know how to drive. So coming to Missoula, it's no different. You just gotta work around them. All right, tip number 2, honking. People don't honk here. Unless you're doing something majorly wrong, you're gonna get honked at, but it's pretty rare. So my first week that I moved here to Missoula, I got honked at twice in one day. And I came home and I told my husband, hey, I got honked at today. And he's like, oh, what did you do wrong? I'm like, well, I'm not really sure what I did, but I must have done something really wrong, because since then, and it's been 2 years since, I think I've gotten honked at maybe one other time. And I do not honk at other people because what other people are doing while they're driving isn't that bad. So you'll very rarely hear honking. And a huge pet peeve of mine is when I'm sitting at a red light and the light suddenly turns green and then somebody honks right away. I'm like, that is so unnecessary. Like, people are just a lot more relaxed here. So that very rarely happens. I think it's happened maybe once or twice in the past couple years. But unless you're doing something seriously wrong, you won't get honked at. It's pretty nice. Because when I do go back to Washington, D.C. to visit family and friends, honking is a constant. Honking for no reason. Honking for this or that, or to get somebody's attention off the street, or because your Uber arrived, or whatever. It was constant. Here, not so much, and it's a really pleasant surprise. Tip number 3. You have got to learn how to drive on Brooks Street, in and around that street in particular, because whoever designed Brooks Street and all the surrounding streets to it, they went a little crazy, didn't coordinate with each other. There are so many one-way streets and they do not make sense whatsoever. So one street will be one way going this way where you can only turn right, no turning left, but then the next street over is two-way street, and then the next street over is one way and only turn left, and a bunch of the streets are all diagonal, and this road over here that leads into Brooks, there's a roundabout, and then it doesn't even turn onto Brooks, and then there's another street over here that you think will get you to Brooks Street, and it's a random dead end because it's a bunch of flowers. So learning to drive in and around Brooks Street is a learned skill, and I have U-turned so many times. I have had to pull over, pull up directions. It has taken me quite a bit to learn how to drive on that road in particular, because it is a busy road too, so you do have to be careful. But then all the streets that feed into it, there's no logical order. And I guess as a type A, that bothers me. So good luck. If you're finding value in this video, then go ahead and give that like button a click. It helps bring more of Missoula's charm to you. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe and the notification bell. This way you won't miss a beat on all things Missoula, Montana. All right, let's get back to it. Tip number 4. Now, this tip leads me back to my second tip about honking. So I do remember that I did get honked at because of the stop sign situation here in Missoula. Where I came from, in DC, stop signs are all way. Every single person has a 4-way stop. Right? Okay, that makes sense. Not here, not in Missoula. You learn the hard way. There will be, so if you're driving forward, of course you're driving forward. So if you're driving one way and there's a car driving on the other side of the road, great. The two of you have stop signs. But the people crossing you, they don't have stop signs. And I always took it for granted that stop signs, they say, at least in DC, they say all way, but it's really small. So I never really paid attention to it because all the stop signs are 4-way. Not here. So I really took for granted the all way. Yeah, they don't have that here. So when I got honked at, it's because I stopped at my stop sign. I assumed the person coming from the right is going to stop at their stop sign. Wrong. I got honked at. So this leads me back to tip number 2. If you're doing something majorly wrong by not stopping and letting the person from the right go because they don't have a stop sign, then yes, you're gonna get honked at. So be careful with the stop signs. Some of them are all way, some of them are not, and they can be tricky. And then to add an extra wrench into things, sometimes there are lights that are stop signs. Take away this one thing. Stop at the stop sign and look for the words all way or 4-way, something like that, to let you know that the people crossing you are going to stop or not, because you're going to get honked at or get in a really bad accident, and I don't wish that for you. All right, tip number 5. So in Washington, D.C., as you may know, there is a ton of traffic. Traffic for absolutely no reason, and traffic for very serious reasons, right? So when I moved here to Missoula and I heard locals complaining about traffic, I rolled my eyes every single time. I have sat in traffic. I can count on one hand how many times I have sat in traffic in the past 2 years. And they have all been for legitimate reasons, mostly accidents, unfortunately. There is traffic on Reserve Street, but it's not real traffic. It's just more people out and about on that specific road at around 9 a.m. because that's when people are going to get their coffee, take their kids to school, go to work. So yes, there tends to be more people, but you're never in gridlock traffic, unless there's an accident, of course. But you're never stopping, waiting. It will not add more than 5 to 10 minutes of your day just because Reserve Street is 2 lanes going down and 2 lanes going back. So that right lane, people are constantly turning in or people are coming in onto Reserve Street. So that lane can get a little bit busy. But other than that, it is not that bad. So when I hear people talk about traffic, it's for legitimate reasons. It's not real traffic. So when I went back to DC to visit friends and family this past summer, that is real traffic, where I was sitting for 2 extra hours for absolutely nothing. Or at least I couldn't see the reason. And that happens all the time. I mean, I grew up there. It happens all the time. So Missoula traffic is not real traffic. So that's a wonderful thing. And one of the many, many reasons that I love Missoula, love the surrounding areas. Traffic is not real. And don't let the locals convince you of it. Unless it's for a legitimate reason. Then, of course, it happens. It's not real. Okay. Soapbox. Okay, let's get into my bonus tip about driving in and around Missoula. The speed limits on the highway are high. So I believe on 93 to go from the tip of Missoula down south through Lolo and Florence and Corvallis and Victor and all the way down to Hamilton. I believe the speed limit is 65. Nobody does that. Nope. Most people are going 75 or 80. Yep. The highway runs quickly. Yep. And you have to keep up because the traffic is speedy. So know that you can get from the edge of Missoula down to Florence in less than 20 minutes, 15 if you're really cruising. And that's the nice thing about, at least from the edge of Missoula all the way down to like Hamilton, for example, there's a good amount of cars, but not enough cars to slow you down. And I find that people are mostly respectful of right-hand lane is for slower drivers and the left-hand lane is for faster or passing traffic. I find that people are mostly respectful of that. And if somebody is tailing you, then you better move over because they will tail you very closely, or they will blink their lights at you, or they will honk at you. Going back to tip number 2, you don't want that. No. So just keep in mind, go with the traffic, and if you don't feel comfortable going that fast, then just move to the right-hand lane. If you want to know everything there is about eating, sleeping, and living in Missoula, Montana, the good, the bad, and everything in between, be sure to hit that like, subscribe, and the bell for notifications about this channel so you can stay up to date on everything you need to know about Missoula and the surrounding area.